First question coming in from Sandra. Hi there, Sandra. Thanks for tuning in. Sandra's question is, sorry, I'm thinking about getting into property investing as the value of my pension has just crashed. Do you have any hints and tips for beginners on getting started? And what are the key things to be aware of? Okay, Sandra, great question. Thank you for that. A couple of things about building your own property portfolio, Sandra. Property investing is one of the things that a lot of people want to get into, and that's particularly driven by shows such as Homes Under the Hammer, or those sorts of programs that focus on people buying a property, renovating it, and then selling it on or making a profit and that sort of thing. So it's pretty exciting. And the one thing I want to say is that mistakes in property can be quite expensive. And if you get it wrong, obviously you could end up overpaying for a property, or you could end up in a situation where you buy something that you think is a bit of a bargain. And if you haven't done your due diligence, you could end up with further problems. And what I mean by that is I bought quite a bit of stuff at auction, and I've seen people in the auction room who are bidding on stuff that has got like a mine shaft in the garden, or it's got structural cracking to the side of the property, and they've not taken that into account when they made their bid. So they're in the auction room and they're bidding away, okay, and then the hammer falls and they bought that property, and at exchange of contracts, when the hammer falls, it's exchange of contracts, and they're then legally bound to buy that property. Now, if you're not a cash buyer and you've arranged that you need to get a mortgage on that property, then there's going to be complications potentially with a lender who may refuse to provide finance on that property because of the mine shaft or the cracks in the sidewall or any other complication that might be there in the legal title. So the important thing to say here is that if you are thinking about getting into property investing, you need to be educated. You need to kind of get a good grounding in what's actually required, because buying a property for investment, i.e. to buy to rent out, is very different from doing a property purchase for somewhere that you want to live yourself. And that's different in terms of the type of property that you buy, how you then renovate it ready for the open market, and third and finally, what you want to be paying for that property when you buy it. Okay, so there's a lot of different factors that you want to take into account. And one of the mistakes I see people make is they go and buy a property that they would like to live in themselves. So they overpay for it, they spend far too much money on doing it up, and it leaves little room for profit at the end of the day. So I would start small. If you're going to build your own portfolio, I would certainly start small. It's certainly what I did when I first started. I started with a buy-to-let property. That was the first thing I bought. It was a 3-bed end terrace property. It was in a bit of a state. It needed an awful lot of work doing to it. I think the guy who owned it was a wannabe sort of DIY enthusiast, but he got a lot of things wrong. It's one of these properties where the central heating pipes actually followed the line of the steps as they went upstairs. So I'm not quite sure what he was thinking when he put the central heating system in, but that's one of those sorts of things. So the sort of advice I'd give you is to look at buying a property that's perfect for a buy-to-let, because it's a fairly safe investment. And I'm not giving investment advice here, by the way, guys. I should caveat this, but it's a fairly safe approach as far as property investing is concerned. And you want to look at something that will generate a cash flow positive outcome at the end of the day. So now, the biggest misnomer in property investing is that a lot of people think that you invest in property for capital appreciation. So you buy at a certain price, you wait for the market to go up, because the market always goes up. That's one of the biggest misconceptions. And as the market goes up, that's how you make your money. But actually, if you look at how the professionals do it, what they do is they buy at a discount. And this is one of the biggest problems for people to get their heads around, is how to buy a property at a discount. And that discount can be 20, 30, 40% or more below the market value. So if that property is on the market for, say, £100,000, well, that's what the market value would be once it's done up. They might be buying that property at, say, £50,000 or £60,000, and people can't comprehend, how can you buy a property that cheap, And it's perfectly possible, if you know where to go and the right approach to adopt in this sort of scenario. But you have to be careful that you're not buying in an area that's really, really bad, and nobody's going to want to live there, or there's a lot of high, there's a high crime rate area, that sort of thing. You need to be really careful about these sorts of things. And buying at that discount is the biggest crucial factor in trying to turn a profit as a property investor, I would say. Um, and it's so critical now, with the market being so uncertain, with the economy being so uncertain. It's so critical, in my opinion, to make sure that you're buying at a deeper discount. Okay, and if you're wanting to know more about this, then I'm going to encourage you to go to the WiggyWam website and go to our learning center on the WiggyWam website, and that will give you access to a bit of a learning course, a sort of grounding you in property investment, how to get started, and how to build up a bit of a portfolio, where to go, where to look, what the right type of property to invest in. And then also, one of the other big tips I can give you is to make sure that the deals that you're buying are what's known as cash flow positive. And what I mean by that is, when you, as I said, the biggest misnomer in property is that you buy a property, you wait for the market to go up, and then you make a profit, right? What the professionals are doing, they're buying at discount, okay, to begin with. So they've already built a profit margin into the deal. And then what they then do is that they have profit at the end of the month from the rent minus all their expenses. Okay, so they have the rental income coming in, and then they deduct the mortgage, they deduct the lettings and management fee, which is important because you don't want to be doing the lettings and management yourself. Give that to a letting agent to do. And then the third thing is we take into account what's known as monthly operating expenses. So there will always be things that you need to put money aside for, such as repairs and maintenance on the property, or things like gas safety inspections on your boiler, electrical safety inspections, EPC certificates, all that sort of thing. You need to set some money aside every single month to allow for that. And I'd encourage you to do it properly, because a lot of people, when they first get started, they throw themselves into it, and then they think they're going to manage the property themselves. They're going to take care of all the repairs and maintenance themselves. And whilst that might seem like a really good idea, the reality is it's better to get other people to do it for you, particularly if you're going to try and grow a portfolio at scale. All right. So a couple of ideas that I've given you there, Sandra. I hope that helps. If there's any more sort of guidance that you need on that, feel free to reach out to me. Be happy to help you on that one as well. And as I say, check out the Learning Center on the WiggyWam website, because, as I say, we put together a bit of a mini course there that will help you sort of get started and understand the mentality of what it takes to go out and start building a property portfolio. Okay. The other thing I'm going to say to that is, I know that we've got a wide variety of audiences watching these sorts of videos. So if you're a letting agent and you're wondering how to attract portfolio landlords, particularly because you think they're going to bring a large swathe of properties to you, and they're going to be a great client to have on board, you're not wrong. But one of the things I will encourage you to do is to understand how they think. And the only way to understand how they think is to learn what it takes to be a professional property investor, because their mindset is very different to your average, what we'd call the accidental landlord, which is somebody who's got a property that they've been left in a will, or they've got themselves and their partner, and they've decided to move in together, and then they decide to rent one property out. So the mindset's very different, and unless you know how a professional investor thinks, then it's going to cause some headaches in terms of communicating that to them in order to win their trust and then win their business. Okay, so I hope that helps, Sandra. Thanks for your question there, and let me know if you need any more support. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. Really impressed that you're showing up week in, week out. We're getting some great feedback and responses. So don't forget that you can send us your questions anytime you'd like, either on email, happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk, or you can send them to us via Twitter, or you can go to our WiggyWam website, log into there, and then send us some questions directly. I'd be more than happy to answer them. I'm really excited to be doing these webinars. I get a lot of fun and enjoyment out of them. And even though this last week has been complete chaos, I've really enjoyed it, because it's given us an opportunity to have a bit of normality and at least get the office fairly ready for doing this webinar today. So thanks for your time and attention, guys. Look forward to joining you again same time next week, and hope you have an amazing evening. All right, guys, take care. See you again. Bye-bye.